All right, and we are back with a Titan Division game. It's going to be Saucey Kings up against Apes, and this should be a good match here.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in specifically what these guys are going to go with for the front line. We've seen a lot of Ymir picked, seen a lot of uh, different looks in the support. Sobek already banned away, so I think the front line is going to be a really interesting one to look here. Um,
Yeah, just the ability to bide a lot of time, create a lot of space, is very valuable in these later game team fights.
and another thing to look out for is who are they going to put in this jungle on the side of Saucy Kings? They've got Happen playing jungle. And he's one of the more highly regarded players in this league. Can really run games, really take over a match. So really looking at that jungle pick as well. See if they prioritize it, or maybe if they think just Happen can kind of play anything and win with it. So we'll see where they go. Chiron taken away as well is a huge ADC pick there.
Yeah, and there's just pretty standard bans. I mean, Chiron top ADC, Ymir Sobek pretty heavily contested supports. Suki's a great jungler, and Tiamat brings a lot of viability with that potential for a split push, and Athena band as well for that global.
I think it makes bans a lot easier right now with Gilgamesh being taken away, and yeah, they
Yeah,
are going to prioritize the jungle with Set, and that's a worrying pick for me if I'm the Apes, because uh, when you have a really strong jungler getting a very strong character, a character like Set who can run team fights, and if this Set gets a 1 or 2 level lead, it's definitely worrisome.
yeah, you don't want the other team's best player on their best god, that's for sure. Real quick, if you're in chat, I do have a prediction up. If you want to bet some viewer points on who you think's gonna win, put your money where your mouth is, stuff like that. And then just let us know if there's any audio or visual problems throughout the broadcast.
I don't love these top 2 picks from Apes. I think going ahead and picking the jungler when they already have their jungler on the other side is a bit interesting. Now they could be thinking that Set could go solo. I just don't think that that's particularly likely. So I think the Nemesis is a little hasty. And then the On Her pick, I think On Her is still very good. I just don't know if he's top 2 worthy necessarily, especially with Soul available. So now you have a very strong draft on the other side because they get the Soul, and then they're going to go ahead and throw a Kepri in there. So now this set is going to have a lot of range as far as diving freely. You could see a lot of tower dives in mid with that ultimate just to see what they can make happen, and then use the Kepri ult for basically a free mid dive. So that is a very strong draft. And then the Achilles on the other side, just get that execute to counteract the Kepri ult. My only worry is that execute's going to be in solo lane, very likely for most of the game. So it's really only going to come into play like in mid game, late game team fights.
Yeah, and Subkiller is a very good Achilles player. He really likes the pick. I know it's one of his like top three gods and soul laners in general. So that's just pretty much a comfort pick on him. Might as well pick it up before the second ban phase for it potentially to get taken away. They do ban the King Arthur. That's pretty standard solo ban. He's a very high pick, but they still have the Kakolin open if they want to take that.
Yeah, and Legendary is known to play the Wukong as well, which is a very safe pick, especially
Yeah.
into the Achilles, because you can get up into the air, heal up, and not be susceptible. Ardio comes out, which is a very interesting pick. A lot of pressure in that dual lane now. We'll see if this Soul goes dual lane, or if they pick something else for ADC.
Yeah, I do like the audio pick, especially into the Kepri. Just the ability to press two, take away his pluck. I'm not sure. Does it cripple set teleport with his three
Yeah, it does, and also notably, it's going to cripple this tier and
and the
this
Neath if they pick it?
Neath. Very interesting bottom picks into this Ardio. Um, So I was worried about Apes late game with the Ardio and Achilles and on her. But now, if this Neath gets locked in, I'm a little concerned about how this early game is going to go on the other side because Neath, is very susceptible to that cripple from Ardio, and it's going to get locked in. So a lot of global pressure with the Neath ult. Again, look for these mid dives, right? Because they have the Kepri ult to keep Set alive, and then that Neath ult for the assist, and a very safe god in Merlin coming out. So perhaps anticipating a little bit of that dive.
Yeah, maybe the one thing they were lacking in team fights on the side of Apes is that big AoE damage with, the Nem, the on her, just being single target. But this Merlin's going to allow them to have that huge AoE abilities in these team fights. So I'm kind of leaning towards the Apes draft here.
Yeah, absolutely. But they're going to need to get a solid foothold in the early game because I think
Yeah.
that the late game team fight is going to go not easily, but decently well to the Saucy Kings just from that soul being able to make things happen, make a big difference. So really, I think the matchup to watch for me is the jungle because Nemesis is going to do more late game than a Set. But if Set is ahead, it's just going to be really difficult to slow that down. And also, we started out talking about the front line. This Ardio and Achilles is not going to be amazing late game. Ardio notably falls off pretty hard late game, as a pressure pick in lane. So I'll be interested to see, how they team fight around that kind of, flimsier front line.
Let me get everything set up here. And we are going to be jumping in to game one. Looks like 4 beads set up on or picked up by Saucy Kings, and only 2 on the side of Apes.
Yeah, and the teleport from Subkiller, which looking to get that boots rush. This is probably going to be a Bumba's hammer in the late game. I would imagine. Could go for something spicy like a hero's axe. I think that's always a helpful pickup, but it's likely the Bumba's hammer to help with that dive, help with that damage output. Useful with the Achilles auto attack cancels. But I'm interested in this Neath mid. That putting that Neath in mid, that minimizes the travel time for that ult to solo lane. So they might be able to use that for like a cheeky solo gank, right? Very easy to kind of deal with that Neath ult if it's got to travel all the way across the map from duo to solo. So it opens up a few more opportunities. I don't know if they're really going to look at ganking Subkiller particularly often, but that potentially an option now.
Yeah, and I think they are looking to rush straight into those kind of sort of early to mid fights, as you pointed out in the draft, because Set is rushing boots, it looks like. And we are jumping back into game after that short pause. But yeah, with Set rushing boots, he's going to be looking to farm up his like 1,000-ish gold or so, get his boots back, and then just start looking for fights with Neath being 5. That ult.
Curious as well to see Subkiller go for this Boots Rush instead of like the Fighter's Mask, which might be the more traditional item you go for when you're foregoing that kind of early starter item. Maybe just worried about the tier pressure as he gets first blooded. So opts for extra potions, but it doesn't even help as tier gets a first blood on the first wave.
Yeah, I mean, you're only getting 10 power and 12 movement speed, but with Tier having 2 mobility items straight off level 2, where you going with that blue stone from Tier finds the easy solo for Lord Legender.
And again, it brings up the question: would that Fighter's Mask have been more helpful? Right, 40 power. You don't have movement speed, and you lose that potion. You lose the extra potions, but you're able to fight in a little more effectively, clear the wave, which is super important because as you saw there, Legender was able to clear the wave, and that no doubt contributed to his early damage as the fight breaks out in mid.
And Justin gonna pick up Ragnarok with the Neath one. Merlin finds the return kill onto Happen, a little bit of greedy pathing, trying to go back in to find the kill onto Bacon, but Bacon turns it.
Yeah, it's huge to get something back there, especially on Happen, who as I pointed out, is really going to be looking to run this game. So kind of a slow start for Happen just off of that death, but on the other side, Justin gets another kill. Bacon staying probably just a bit too long there, I
Yeah.
would say.
Not respecting the early damage from this Neath is the mid and jungle out of Apes, I'd say. Maybe they don't have as much practice into it. It's not a traditional mid pick, but we've seen it flex there.
Maybe just not used to needs to hit the spirit arrow, right? Like,
Yeah.
but now worrying start for the Apes because now Justin is going to hit that level 5 very quickly, which opens up, as I mentioned, more gank opportunities for Happen, who might look towards, like I said, those early tower dives. And now, yeah, Justin has that ult, so
Yeah, and already we're seeing a 1k lead here for the Saucy Kings over the Apes. Even with Lord Legender picking up that first blood solo kill in duo lane, the rest of his team kind of dropping the ball here in the early. Oh, wait,
yeah, and it's and it's gonna get even more out of control with this purple. The purple buff is still up for the Saucy Kings as
Finds
Legender gets
another
another
solo.
kill.
Solo diff coming out here in game 1. 2 solo kills for Lord Legender, the birthday girl himself.
Yeah, it's just the start, and he's picking up the axe already. So not going for the Bumbas. This could be a hero's axe, could be a sundering axe. To me, I would like to see the hero's axe just to slow down any potential they would have off of like say a Neath ult in the team fights. But this start just not working out for Subkiller. Um, you know, Beads would have probably been the right call just to kind of limit some of that damage that the tier can do to you.
Yeah, and I'm curious if you're just gonna finish boots and then get Warrior's Axe. Is the 10 power and 12 movement speed really that worth it in the early, not to just straight up pick Warrior's Axe off the start? As the
Yeah, and
Neathol does
there's an
come out
early
onto
Neath
the
ult.
solo lane. Subkiller's
Yep,
fine.
and,
He's
and
gonna drop
here
for
come
his
these tower dives,
third
and
death. Yeah, and Saucy King's early game just, as you said, this is what they're looking for, and they're executing very well so far.
yeah, it's a strong early game draft. But on the other hand, I think they just their loadouts were better, right? They're really abusing the fact that Subkiller has no way to deal with the CC. He has no beads. He's not tanky. He has no defense. Uh, he's basically an assassin right now, just sitting on boots, and he's also under leveled.
Yeah, there's only prots coming out as the Warriors actually opted for Warrior Tabby instead of Tank Boots. But it looks like Lord Legender did disconnect here, so pause comes out on the side of Saucy Kings. Hopefully he'll be able to join back in soon.
I want to draw attention to Rank Commander's starting item. He opted for the Sentinel's Gift and cooldown boots, so really, really looking to be aggressive in that lane. pick up early kills, cast a lot of abilities. Um, it's going to slow down that kind of frontline potential, which, as we talked about, is already a little bit suspect in the late game for the RDO. Without having that tank boots. Curious to see now if rank commander goes for like maybe Stone of Binding, for that extra pen and damage, just to really kind of abuse this early game power build that they've gone for. But notably, if this doesn't work out, if they don't get anything off of this, it's going to be really punishing to have that Sentinels moving into the mid game. You might see, perhaps a very large gold lead kind of balloon for Pulsar, and Legendary gets back into the game.
Yeah, we should be looking to unpause here soon. And yeah, as you pointed out, the Shoes of Focus coming out, no tank boots. And if he does go Stone of Binding, sort of adding to that early game aggression, as you said with this RDO pick, is it worth it at this point? I mean, your early game is sort of fallen to the wayside here, starting off against Saucey Kings. And if you go that, you're not going to be very tanky heading into the mid game with no traditional tank item. So
Yeah, I would really like to see this RDO and Nemesis go left and try to punish this Soul ADC. The only problem is if Kepri's there with the ult, it really limits your dive potential onto the Soul. She has her 3 to separate. She has beads. I'm just not seeing any targets right now for Apes.
And a great stun coming out of On Her. Ult's not off the mark, and Vistic is going to survive the 1v1. So just
Yeah, and now the gank potential on left is essentially gone, right? Because you don't have the on her ult. Vistic's going to get a free back here. You secure the purple off of that, so I like it. You kind of stem the bleeding there. But other than that, your potential to get a kill on left is essentially gone.
looks like Pink's come out on the side of Saucey Kings. They might be looking around this corner, but with just Justin being there, they're probably not going to try too hard for it. Might look for the steal over the wall. Does get one of them. Blink coming out of RDO and the stun, but the team not there to follow up. A little bit of a mistiming from the Apes, and Saucey Kings are on the way.
Yeah, I think she's just too close to the tower. You have to kind of CC Neath after the flip. But she's landing in her tower with the flip. It's really hard to. RDO can't dive there, especially without think boots. She's dying as now happens looking at an engagement.
Might be able to catch out Happen, but he does pop the ult. Subkiller gets soloed out in solo lane by the tier. Kepri ult comes out. Happen is able to proc it from the Merlin Fire, and they pick up the Ragnarok. A great team fight coming out of the Saucey Kings. Vistic catches Van Herk on the rotation.
And this is why I love Saucey King's draft so much, because Happen's not even thinking about his positioning there. And now he's going left and he's going to get a kill onto Van Herk. Happen's not even worried about his positioning there. He's not even thinking about, am I in danger of possibly dying here? He's just holding W key and pressing his ult. And if they get damage off to him, he gets a free revive, as we saw there. So it's very free aggression coming out from the Saucey Kings, and there's just no answer on the side of the Apes.
And speaking of free aggression, this tier just steals one of the back camps. Not the big one, though, so... But just a little bit of a lead he's able to push there, being 2 levels up on a sub killer.
No, I would really like to see some groupings onto the Scorpion as now they're pinging it out. I would like to see, I think the Soul and the support can probably do it themselves. Just get that Scorpion off the map and left so that you can rotate this massive tier over to a Gold Fury fight, around the 10, 11 minute mark, and really abuse that solo lane advantage.
Yep, and right on the mark, Saucey Kings take down both Greater Scorpions on their side. So these objectives are going to be spawning here relatively soon. And I mean, with a 4K gold lead at this point, they're pretty much in the driver's seat to take down these early objectives. We do see a rotation coming out of the Apes onto the Soul. Nemesis ult comes out. On her ult straight into the immunity of the Soul. They're still diving. They do have the RDO here, but the chase isn't enough. And Vistix, with that Soul 3 immunity, is able to get out pretty scot-free. But the blink back in from Rank Commander. But his team is not following up. Just a little bit of lack of cohesion here from the Apes on these ganks and rotations.
Look, I love the play, but the execution just wasn't there. As now Happen's going to get a kill. and it is just goes from bad to worse as he gets another one, and now happens 4-1. And this is just an albatross. Uh, if you're the Apes, like, what do you do about this set? How do you slow it down? There's just no way,
Yeah, and with
as
that
they're going to
Gorb,
start up a Gold Fury.
yeah, Gorb taken down by them, and they don't have the solo up, but it looks like no response out of the Apes. Just gonna give this up for free, and Saucy King's pushing the lead even more.
I liked the idea. You know, you send over a gank to try and get a kill in the left. It was just that poor execution. Artio maintained the blink for too long. I think if she had blinked onto Viz 6, they might have been able to get a little more damage following the end of that Disapparate, a little more CC. And obviously the on her ult hit just about every spear into that immunity from the Disapparate. So it was a good gameplay, a good game call, but the execution wasn't there, and the rotation from Happen able to get the punish.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if maybe Ban Herc just doesn't have that much soul experience, but he's got to know that how long that immunity's lasting there before he throws out his ult like that. As Lord Ledger in the 1v3, he's gonna try and get out with his ultimate. They should be able to catch him, but with Happen rotating over, it looks like Apes are just trying to back off.
And this is just what a solo difference feels like, right? Like, you send everyone over just to relieve pressure, right? That's just to keep Subkiller alive, and he's itemizing into early defense, which feels very bad on the Achilles. And so all of that, and they're not even able to get the kill. It's just relieving pressure. And now Saucy King's going to secure an easy Pyromancer. And a tier 1 in left.
Yeah, and the overall map play just straight up better out of the Saucy Kings here in game 1. Ragnarok is looking for the gank onto the Soul. With the immunity out, let's see if they wait. He should hold for the ult. The Neath ult comes out. He should be able to turn this, and he is with the ult. Honor Spear's off the mark a little bit, but Artio is still rotating in. Blink is up. Misses the stun and the spear out of on her. Merlin is here, but the immunity is going to keep him alive for now. Bacon should be able to find this kill. And they do get the kill onto Vistix, but they trade out their jungle and mid for it.
Can't fault them for trying to make this play, but as soon as that Neath ult comes out, Ragnarok needs to turn around because he's standing next to Soul in her immunity. He's not able to get any damage there. The Neath ult is channeling on him. So as soon as the Neath ult hits, Vistix able to cancel the immunity and get a free ult off. Ragnarok also not able to respond, doesn't have the beads, had used his shield. So I think there it's just not recognizing that the window was closed, right? That they, like, as soon as Soul hits that immunity and the Neath ult is used, you just got to get out of there. And I think that was his, he had a chance to escape, but as soon as the Neath ult hit, it was over.
Yeah, and I mean, you do get the Soul that is in the lead, and you see this little dip in the graph. That is from the Soul kill, a little bit of a big bounty there, but then with the 3 kills in return, it just kind of evens it up. Not really worth it there. And
Yeah,
Saucy King's
Apes,
able to farm up or just right after that fight anyways.
Yeah, the Apes maybe just, throwing stuff at a wall to see what sticks, right? And now they're going to try and do the same in mid, try and get anything that they can, but not going to work out. As now Happen coming in.
Out. A great stun on Rank Commander saves him for a little bit, but the pluck from Pulsar Hypernova is better. T-Roll comes out and secures the kill on Ranked Commander. With no objectives up, they could look for the red invade, but opting for maybe just this tier 1 tower here in mid.
Yeah, you need to just play for structure defenses here. At this point, you're not on track to being able to defend the first Fire Giant, when the game gets later. So you just need to farm up.
Happen
take
goes
what buffs
in,
they don't invade.
finds Bacon. Isn't close enough for the Kepriel. Does die to Ragnarok, and looks like Kepriel comes onto the tier. This could be a good fight here for the Apes to turn around. Both targets low, good shell, saves them from the on-her ult. But the Artio is still looking here to chase. She does have the Nemesis with her, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to find the back line here. Or the front line as they retreat.
B is forced out by Justin, just enabling him to flip through that cripple, but again, overextending. Legendary gets a kill. Viz 6, just a couple more autos going to do it onto Ragnarok. And now, what was looking like a good engagement, again, they need to recognize when is the window closed. Legendary rotates and is able to make plays happen. And you get that shutdown gold on the happen. That's huge. He was clearly playing for the Capri revive and wasn't able to get it. So once that happened, the Saucey Kings were in full disengage. But then this tier rotation is able to cut off the chase and net 2 more kills on the side of the Saucey Kings. So it's just the Apes not recognizing when to curb their aggression and just take the win. And now Gold Fury being started up by the Saucey Kings.
Yeah, they're not too butthurt over a botched fight coming out of them. They're just like, hey, we'll back up, get this objective right off the respawn. So Saucey Kings looking to creep up on a 10k lead here soon as they look to invade this purple buff.
And I can't get behind Subkiller's build here. I think I'm looking at this Sunder, right, and this teleport. Teleport is now useless for him. It doesn't help him in team fights at all. Sunder, of course, very helpful for getting picks, but they're not really picking anyone, right? Happen died because of a miscommunication on Capriol, and that's it, right? If you Sunder someone, they're going to get a Capriol and just get to survive there. Now Subkiller may be catching Happen out, but Happen's got help.
But he does opt to proc his 2 before he looks for the stun if you're sub killer, and maybe a little bit of a misplay there because that bought just enough time for Happen to teleport over the wall.
Yeah, so now Subkiller won't have the ult, and then again, it just makes getting picks very difficult on the side of the Apes.
Pyromancer should be the next objective they look at. With a roughly 9k lead, they can pretty much just send the tier out to pretty much zone by himself. This man is huge, level 15 right now. And the carries on the side of Apes are just 13 and 12.
At this point, it's up to, will the Saucey Kings make another mistake like that happened death in middle? But I just see their comp is very forgiving with the Capri, with a lot of ways to get out. You got the Hercule, you got the escapes from Neath and from Set. Soul obviously with Disapparate, and a free Fire Giant goes down. This is Saucey King's game to lose.
Yeah, no contest coming out of the Apes on that FG, and now Saucey Kings grouping up on this right side T2. The blink comes out of the Capri. You could look for the pluck. The Honor Pillar is going to save them for now. A little bit of damage coming out of the Capri, but he does have the FG buff to heal up. Happen is coming around the backside. Great stun out of the RDO, but no idea about this Set flank. And Set ult does come out, finds Rank Commander. Honor ult, not going to do enough damage as Lord Legendary finds the sub killer kill. And now Saucey King's pushing us 5 for this Phoenix. This tier blinks in. Gets the beads out of on her. And a great Capri root helps find the double for Lord Legendary.
And you just can't be defending in tier 2 there. Subkiller had his ult forced out early, pretty much as soon as it came up. And you've got to play for Phoenixes there. You've got one of the best Phoenix defense gods in the game in the Merlin. You just have to clear waves and try to curb their aggression wherever it is. And now this fight's completely fallen apart for the Apes, and Saucey King's looking to end the game at 17.5 minutes.
Yeah, Titan falling, but a great stun on a Rank Commander. Does find a couple kills for the Merlin, but they're going to be able to get this with Justin being full HP still.
No, so a little bit of
they do not get the Titan.
Yeah, I think they pulled it to the left while some of their team was still on the right. Vistix went into the Disapparate, missed a few autos because of that, and so not quite having the damage. But look, at this point, the Apes are now down 11k. The one bright spot is that Bacon is in this game, and he can defend waves very well. So if the Apes are still going to have a shot, they need to fight out of the base. They need to keep this right lane pushed up and don't allow Saucey Kings to push into the base for free, because Saucey Kings, they just need a little bit more damage onto that Titan, right? They don't care about winning the fight. They just need to push in. They could throw, 3, 4 lives away just to get into the Titan room and get that last little bit of damage. So the Apes need to do their absolute best to keep them out of this throne room, keep these waves pushed. Fortunately, they still have the tier 2 in mid and left to help them with that. So it's just going to be about these fire waves.
Yeah, and if you're Saucy Kings, I wonder if you just, I don't know, the tier still has FG. Maybe you send them over on the left side, on the like the left gate. And maybe your tier and your set blink over. You throw the Capriole onto the set while the tier tanks, and you just get a free Titan at that point. But some awkward pathing. Happen has to get the beads forced out on him. Saucy King's trying to barrel in a good stun coming out of Rank Commander. Finds 4. And Vistic's already half HP.
Look at Happen trying to end the game on the Titan.
And
it's not going to be able to get there, though, and Vistix falls down.
Yeah, great execute from Subkiller, but Lord Legendary finds him with the ult. Lord Legendary just trying to focus the Titan. Looks like Titan is the call. But Banherk finds Justin. Happen's not able to get there, but he does teleport in. A little bit of damage comes out. Pulse Trap Nova, the only one on the Titan, and the tier has to back up as well. Another great defense out of Banherk, but the Fire Minions are coming in as well.
It's a solid defense from Apes, but I think more of a botched engagement from the Saucy Kings. Happen uses his teleport through the doors to try to get on top of the Titan. Unfortunately, the Apes were waiting for him, and he wasn't able to push in and get that damage. And then Legendary and Pulsar were the ones pulling it to the left away from the damage dealers. So they weren't able to, those are the tanks on there, so they weren't able to get damage onto it. Again, free kills going over to the way of the Apes. Slowly getting back into it. If they can get this right Phoenix to respawn and get their Titan to heal, suddenly we've got a match on our hands.
Yeah, and if you're Apes, I mean, hey, your carry's level, your mid's 18 now. Your carry has a 1 level lead, maybe like a half level lead up against this Soul. I mean, and the Merlin has been able to free cast pretty much these last 2 couple botched dives from the Saucy Kings. So you're kind of getting back in this game. You're right. Phoenix is going to respawn here soon. Just a couple more fire waves you have to defend as FG comes up.
And Vistix just ticking over to 18. Pulsar Hypernova just ticking over to 15. Banherk and Rank Commander maybe about a half level lead over the other dual lane. And of course, Merlin has caught up to the Neath. So potentially worrying here. It's not the best late game draft for the Saucy Kings. If Nemesis is able to get back into this game, and as you see, the right side Phoenix is respawn. So if Nemesis is able to get back into this game, it actually could be tilting more in favor of the Apes. The problem is this is a nigh impossible fire giant for them to defend, as they have fire waves still to deal with, and they're not in position grouped in mid. So perhaps a second chance here for the Kings on the next fire giant push.
Yeah, it's not EFG just yet. Still got 8 minutes for that. So if you're Apes, you're like, hey, we've been fighting behind this whole time. I mean, this is what you've been doing the past like 5-10 minutes here to defend. So you just got to keep on keeping on.
And again, I'm not impressed with the double Sunder pickup. I think Sunder is really good from even and ahead, but it's atrocious from behind, right? But the only benefit it has here is that when a tank starts tanking Phoenix, you can Sunder them and make things kind of uncomfortable for them. But again, they have the Kepri ult to kind of help curb some of that that added aggression as Kepri blinks in.
Yeah, Kepri blinks in. Great damage out of the Merlin. Might force the Kepri ult. He does use it onto himself as Lord Legendary tries to zone the backline. But huge damage coming out of the carries on the side of Apes. Low health bars for the Saucy Kings, and Merlin is chasing, but he is alone. Lord Legendary in the backline all by himself. Does get Nem ulted, it looks like. Is find out, but a great execute coming out of Subkiller. Happen isn't able to find Banherk in the background or Bacon, so a 2 for nothing and only 3 FGs left for Saucy Kings. I don't think they're going to be able to push this.
So that was my first little instance of Caster's Curse right there. I call out the Sunder, and then immediately Pulsar blinks into the Phoenix, gets Sundered, and takes most of his health, just trying to get out. And that completely ruins the engagement. So Sunder actually coming up huge for the Apes as they get another couple of kills. And
And
again, another failed Fire Giant push as now Ledger caught out.
yeah, it looks like Apes aren't gonna want to chase. Just push out your waves, keep farming up. You're almost back into this game. I mean, it's still a 12k lead, but as we get later and later, that gold lead's not gonna matter as much, as we've seen these defenses come out time and time again for the Apes.
And now these decisions that at the early game were really hurting the Apes are actually going to pay off quite well. This Nemesis pick is, arguably going to be more effective in the late game than the set if she can get there. This Merlin pick definitely more effective than the Neath, especially as we've seen in these defenses. And then Bluestone tier. Bluestone is a very good mid game item, but it really hurts his kind of late game tankiness. And this Hero's Axe, I love the pickup coming out from Subkiller. This Hero's Axe could potentially turn these team fights. This is an excellent pickup because now, how do you kill the carries? They're diving the backline and not even able to get kills on these Fire Giant engagements. So now with this Hero's Axe, it becomes that much harder. So I love these pickups from Subkiller. And now it's just up to the Saucey Kings. They still have 3 Fire Giants. Are they going to be able to get a Phoenix?
Yeah, and 2 of those 3 Fire Giants are on Justin and Vistic, so gonna be able to try and shred this. But the carries aren't here quite yet, but they bought a lot of room for the front line out of Saucey Kings. They could look for it. Kepriel forced early. Subkiller can't find the execute. Solo comes out as well. Justin getting shredded by this Merlin damage. But it looks like Banherk might fall to Lord Legendary, but a great stun from Rank Commander. Lord Legendary has to back out as well. Shell comes out trying to save Vistic from this dive. Bacon goes in. Huge damage out of this Merlin, finds Justin. And it looks like Vistic is able to find Ragnarok. So overall, a 1-for-1. But, I mean, your level 18 Nemesis that's been behind all game for the level 20 Neath, it's had great impact.
Yeah, fortunate that they're able to get one back. It's not a great trade, as you said, an 18, 1 and 7 for the 4 and 3 Neath. But at what point do you sound the alarms, right? Because they still had, I mean, that's 3 pushes they've made, or 4, I guess, with their 2 Fire Giants, and none of them have worked out. So now you start to wonder, with the current match state, are the Saucey Kings going to be able to win team fights? Because now this Merlin is officially a problem. He's about to back for Pendulum, or could see an alternate timeline, which could be spicy. So, which I actually think that would be a good call because it makes this all in from the Saucey Kings very difficult. Now what the Apes need to do is win the next team fight and see if they can get a Fire Giant. I would actually like to see them try and play up, test the waters. Don't overcommit, don't die for anything, but see if you can establish some vision control on this Fire Giant spawn. But again, not in position as it's coming up soon.
Yeah, and if you're Saucey Kings, you got to worry about, like you said, the 4 failed sieges and like Titan's full HP now. You still have 1 weakened Phoenix on the right side, but do you take this FG and try and push again with a base FG, or do you just wait for the 30-minute EFG and take your chances there?
You can't wait, because the longer this goes, the better things become for the Apes, right? Merlin is just going to keep getting better, when he sells boots for whatever extra damage item he gets. I think this late game draft for the Apes is just better. So yeah, the right call. Get this Fire Giant, get another push. Don't let the Apes keep getting back into it.
That does seem to be the call, but they don't have... They have mid and right wave slightly, but I don't know if what they're doing here. It looks like they're just bum rushing the mid Phoenix. Lord Legendary starts tanking it. Subkiller is here, doesn't find the stun. Rank Commander blinks in. And it looks like the carries are able to try and shred the Phoenix. It's at half HP. Ult comes out of Soul, can't kill Bacon. On her ult comes out as well. And it looks like they might get the Phoenix. The Phoenix is one shot. Another great defense coming out of Apes so far.
Yeah, the Phoenix does finally fall down. Very ambitious play. Luckily, it works out.
Yeah, and some huge damage coming out of the Soul. Good stun from Rank Commander. Happen trying to dive sub killer, isn't able to find the kill. Nemesis ult comes out. Aegis used on Happen. And Khepri still has the ult. Saucy King's just going to back up and use this FG to heal.
Yeah, great play by the Saucy Kings there. The threat of the Khepri ult was enough to curb a lot of that aggression. Bacon gets a lot of damage in the corridor.
Yeah, this Merlin
perhaps
has
slowing down more of the Saucy Kings push.
Yeah, Merlin top in the damage chart. She's been able to survive the dive of the Saucy Kings, even with them being up like almost 20k at this point and having Fire Giant. Just a great play out of this Merlin so far. Really keeping his team alive.
Yeah, and you saw there when Happen was diving, and Nem was able to force the Aegis. Could have kept going after that Aegis wore off, but it's that threat of the Khepri ult, right? You can't all in anyone if you're the Apes, because that Khepri ult's just gonna bring them back to life, or at the very least give them time to get out. What you have to hope for, and what has really allowed them to win a lot of these pushes earlier in the game, is that Pulsar is going to dive a Phoenix and take a lot of damage and be forced to ult himself. And Pulsar, fortunately, able to avoid a lot of that poke. I don't think he got sundered in that engagement, so didn't have to ult himself and was able to kind of keep that in his pocket. And now they still have it for this push. So we'll see if they're able to get another Phoenix or if the Apes will put up another good defense.
It looks like they're going for the left side Phoenix. This is the Phoenix you want to try and get down if you're the Saucy Kings. Lord
and
Legend
the Apes
pushing up mid, and they leave their left Phoenix wide open. Only Bacon there for the defense, and Justin and Vistix just shredded.
Good job getting that Phoenix. The Apes just not in position. A little bit scary there. Bacon kind of walked up ahead of his front line to kind of clear the waves, get a little bit of poke, and maybe stop a little bit of that aggression. Fortunately, didn't step up enough to get engaged on. But you know, if Merlin dies at this point, it could be disastrous for the Apes.
Yeah, this Merlin has been the staple of their defense. Like he pointed out in the draft, just a great defensive character. And that's got to be the target for the Saucy Kings. And once he falls, pretty much so does the rest of their defense. As Ban Herc takes half his health from Lord Legender. But Lord Legender is going to ult out for safety. As Happen wraps around the back, Phoenix falls down. Nemesis ult comes out, Vistix shredded. And a great zone out of Rank Commander there. Bides time for his team to find Vistix. Happen in the backline. Khepri still has ult here for the dive, but he's maybe not in range. He does find the ult onto Happen. Keely's ult could look to come out, but a little off the mark there. And Happen gets the revive, teleports out. Now Khepri and Lord Legend are trying to get out. As Titan is taking minion damage, but a lot of Merlin damage coming out as well.
Neath basically free casting, getting a lot of damage off, but forced to backflip away.
Yeah, the 1v1 out of the Ban Herc and Justin, and Ban Herc finds the kill, but the Titan taking half HP. So overall, pretty much a win, I think, for the Saucy Kings. You get the Titan half HP, 3 Phoenixes down. This is going to be very hard to come back from if you're the Apes.
Yeah, a little bit sloppy to lose a couple of those picks as now Legendar's going in on Ban Herc. Uses the beads as he's in the air and unable to get that CC immunity. I think with the Aussie proc, he could have potentially won that, with a better beads timing. So backbreaking for the Apes here. The Saucy Kings now verging on a 20k gold lead. The mid Phoenix respawns, but there's fire waves pushing in all 3 lanes, and now Enhanced Fire Giant on the menu.
Yeah, and if you're the Apes, this is going to be very hard to come back from. Your Honor is going to be up in 30, but he doesn't have the beads. Going to be an easy dive. Doesn't have the beads or the Aegis, so he's going to be a really easy dive for Lord Legender, who's been playing amazing this game. 10-0 and 5 coming out of this tier.
Can we see the structure damage?
Yeah, let me find which one it is.
Yeah, this double ADC comp, you just can't deal with it, right? Before, they were able to push these minions out with the Merlin and get a lot of poke onto those tanks and kind of curb the push in some of those earlier sieges. But once these ADCs came online, this Soul and this Neath, It just became too much, right? These Phoenixes just melted. There wasn't any time for them to poke a tank and kind of slow the aggression. So now, low health Titan, they
Yeah, and
really have to
Mystic
keep them
just
out of
gonna
the
run
Titan
in,
room.
use his 2 and his ult, and just destroy the Titan. Upgraded red buff and enhanced fire giant, full build soul. Titan didn't stand a chance there. As Saucy Kings take game 1 pretty handily, besides a couple of botched sieges there.
Yeah, obviously a very good game plan out of the Saucy Kings, executed to near perfection. Legender had a great game, a couple of solo kills, very strong from him. I think at the end there, the Apes needed to recognize, our Phoenixes are down, our Titan is low. We have to fight outside of our base. We have to throw our bodies at them in the mid lane, because if they push in, it's just going to be damage onto our Titan. We're not going to be able to stop them, right? So I think they need to just, throw their bodies at him. If you get deicited, you get deicited. Instead, playing for stats there. Nobody dies at the end. They just kind of let the Saucy Kings walk in and get the win.
Yeah, and if you're the Apes, game 2, I think you just got to clean up the early game. You were able to fight and defend pretty well from behind a significant amount, but your early game just allowed them to snowball into that huge lead. So you gotta be looking to prioritize maybe the early game a little bit more there for the Apes. So game 2 should be looking up to start here relatively soon. I'm gonna throw it to a break real quick. We will pay out the predictions if anybody voted, and then we'll get prediction up for game 2 whenever we get into picks and bans. But I'm gonna throw up to break real quick here. All right, and we are back into game 2's picks and bans. Saucy Kings versus the Apes. Looks like another team app ban coming out first on the side of the Apes. What do you think with them having first pick? What are they gonna try to prioritize here?
Well, I hope that they get something like the Soul or the Chiron through, because they were sorely lacking in damage from the ADC side. I think on Herald is good, but it was much better on a 75-second cooldown, of course. And I don't think that Herc was the best at hitting every spear, and that's okay, right? Like, uh, I think there are stronger picks anyways that they should look to slot in that ADC role. And I want to see Subkiller on someone who can have a little bit more impact in the late game. Like, it's clear, Subkiller is not playing for the early game there against Legender. And so I don't want him to see. I don't want to see a boots rush, with a teleport. I want to see a little more of a late game focus. Uh, uh, for the solo lane. So that's what I'm hoping for the Apes. And I also want to see just a more cohesive game plan. That's what Saucy Kings had, right? They had this dive oriented jungler, and a mid who could assist from anywhere on the map, and a support who could make the dive free. I can just tank tower shots and live on my own, then get some assist damage from the mid. It was very effective in those mid fights, and especially around Phoenixes when they're diving the backline. A few miscues kind of slowed them down, but just that draft was very, very effective. And you could see that they had a game plan, they had a thought. Happen is going to go in. He's not going to worry about positioning because we're going to bail him out if he gets in any kind of trouble. And he was basically free casting.
Yeah, and it looks like the Apes are gonna ban the Soul. I was curious if they would, because a lot of value came out of the Soul, especially early on. with just her survivability. It took three people to gank her on that left side in duo lane under her tower, and they barely got her, and they traded 2 lives for it. So was very curious if they were gonna take that away, and they do lock in the Giannis first pick. Tsukiyomi banned out, so that's a good matchup. Into the Giannis taken away. And I know Justin likes his Giannis as well, so pretty much a counter pick as well coming out of the Apes.
I don't love this because I'm not sure how worried you are about the Janus on the other side, as much as you would be about this Chiron. So now a lot of damage from that ultimate from the range as well. So I would have liked to see the Chiron picked in that slot, especially because Bacon played so well on the Merlin. Why not reprise that Merlin, right? Why prioritize putting your star from the previous game on a new character, and the Hercules coming out? So a lot of aggression, a lot of survivability, and a lot of damage on this Saucy Kings draft. And on the other side, you get a survivable mid who can do a lot of damage. Now, how do you build around it?
Yeah, I don't mind the Giannis pick just because I don't know if I'd pick it first, but I don't mind the Giannis pick just to help their kind of early rotations. As we pointed out last game, a lot of the timing seemed to be off on their calls. Maybe Giannis helps the team get there a little bit faster and some better rotations for them in the early. As Subkiller locks in the Odin up against the Hercules, from personal experience last night, Odin, pretty good matchup here into the Herc.
Yeah, Odin very strong into Hercules in the solo lane. Well, I would like to see, as the troll, hovering of Morgan Le Fay. You can't pick that, but the Raijin a very strong pick as well. I would like to see this Hercules go to Happen, right? Happen plays a lot of Hercules support. Why not Hercules jungle? Let's see Happen play his signature pick in a different role. I think that would be hilarious, and it would kind of curb that mismatch in the solo lane a little bit. So yeah, you get it. The Odin pick is good because it locks the Hercules and the Chiron into the ring. But Raijin, of course, able to get out. And now it looks like the game plan here is let's just get this Hercules caught in the ring. He can't heal. We're gonna burst him down, and Alphonse gonna ult him. So not a bad plan. But if Raijin's able to get outside of that ring and kind of free cast while you're going on a tank or maybe hopefully on the Chiron, could be a lot of free damage coming out from that Raijin. So interested to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and again, we see this sort of survivability coming out of the Saucy Kings. The Chiron ult going to be able to revive if he finds that kill. The Hercules able to return a lot of health from the damage coming out of Apes. So a little bit of a theme here coming out from the Saucy Kings. We could look to see them pick up the Kepri again with the jungle and Odin locked in for solo. No Achilles, no Thanatos. Ao Kuang does have the execute, so maybe that's where they're leaning towards to try and deter Saucy Kings from picking up the Kepri again.
And look, just not worried about the on her. Notably, like that was one of the picks that was top picked from the Apes last game. You can see the Saucy Kings just aren't at all concerned. So I would like to see the Apes go away from this on her. Medusa is very interesting. A really strong team fight ult. If Xing Ten picks up a bunch of people and Medusa gets that ult off, it could be a lot of damage. So again, it looks like they're playing around this ring, and I might have been right. We might be seeing Happen play Hercules, or they'll put it in support and make me sad. But
Yeah.
waiting for this last pick.
Yeah, the tier instantly locked in. It looks like Thor being hovered, so they might be looking for the jungler here. But yeah,
No.
Medusa trans Bluestone, she does very well with that, and that's going to do a lot of damage coming out of their ADC. Maybe that's why they're looking to pick up the Ao Kuang to sort of deter Saucy Kings from building a bunch of physical damage here. Looks like Thor does get locked in.
A little bit of trading around. We will not get the Happy Lees today, unfortunately, for me. But strong draft around here. Amazing aggression in this Saucy Kings dual lane. Hercules and Chiron going to be very hard to deal with on the other side. Medusa, what you need to do, don't bait yourself with your dash. Save that escape. It's not a great escape. If Hercules can kind of catch it out kind of easily, but if you dash in ever, you're basically dead. So um, I want to see patient play from this Apes duo lane. It's a strong late game draft. I think they team fight pretty well if they can get there. But I don't think the laning phase measures up quite to this laning phase we see drafted by the Saucey Kings.
Yeah, and Raijin's going to be the only magical damage dealer here for the Saucy King, so a lot of damage going to be on the shoulders here for Justin in the mid lane, and he did very well last game, so no reason to not have faith in him for this game too.
So now I want to see, what is Subkiller going to do for this start? Is he going to respect the early aggression? He does have a knockup immune ability, fortunately, in the 3, so that can kind of help him play into the tier a little bit better. And it is going to be the Fighter's Mask. I like this, but I don't like the teleport. I don't think that the teleport really suits their late game needs. And he sells it and gets beads. I think the correct play there. That just limits what Hercules can do to you, right? Because if you can't land that knockup consistently, if you're able to CC it, or CC immunity in a gank situation, then that's gonna exponentially increase your chances of survival. So I like this start from Subkiller much better. I think much more appropriately respecting what the tier can do.
Yeah, and we kind of, or I kind of hinted at the Odin into the Hercules matchup not being favorable for the Hercules, but a great draft switch up here for the Saucy Kings. Throw the Herc into support. Now you got the tier that was able to do very well last game. I don't even remember if he died at all last game. So now the Odin, maybe a little bit more of an awkward pick into the tier.
Yeah, you get that knockup immunity, but you're not really able to create any aggression of your own because you can't lock him into the cage, right? And so you just force his ult, and tiers aren't really attached to their ult anyways. It's just a whatever ability, and so I think the tier takes that trade every time. Looking at the supports though, curious about these relics. I don't love the shell after the shell nerf. I think it's nice to pop when you're kind of forcing an engagement with the oh wow, beads forced out by Subkiller already.
Yeah, opting to up down with the jump puts himself in a great position for tier to use that fearless and forces the beads. As dual lane starts to get a little bit aggressive, Saucy Kings use the horrific emblem, and he does find the push on the rank commander, but not that much damage. Dash comes out of Vistix. Unable to hit too many autos, does find the one. As we do see a little bit of maybe a gank coming out for the Apes.
Yeah, and that was my other point, is that this horrific emblem on the side of the Hercules, I would have rather seen the blink. I think blink is just a little bit more effective at creating those engagements, right? You saw he popped the horrific as now a gank coming out onto Subkiller, and he is caught out with no hope of escape, and that will be 2 kills actually coming out as Ban Herc is first blood in the left.
Yeah, Happen looking to pick up first blood on the Subkiller after he uses the bird bomb in to clear the wave, but his teammate Viz taking the first blood right before he could. As we do see another pause coming out. Start off game 2, and Saucy Kings off to a little bit of a lead here again in game 2. And if you're Apes, you got to try and stem it quick, because we've seen what they do with an early lead. They took both Scorpions fairly early on, then looked immediately for objectives, and built off that pretty handily last match.
And it just feels like the Apes are drafting with late game in mind, right? They look at these picks from Saucy Kings, you know, they top picked the Hercules and the Chiron. And they're like, we'll pick the Odin, we'll lock him in, we'll make him sitting ducks, and we'll win these team fights. But they're not thinking about how the laning phase is going to go, right? They're not thinking, you know, is this dual lane matchup going to actually be able to survive the aggression from the Hercules, from the Chiron? Can we survive ganks from the Thor? They're thinking, oh, we're going to put them in the cage, spin them around, and hit a huge Medusa ult. But those game situations are never coming to fruition because they're hitting team fights so far behind because they're not able to do anything in the laning phase. They're not respecting the aggression out of the Saucy Kings draft.
Yeah, early on in the season, for both teams, but Saucy Kings just looking a little bit more together with these game plans and these overall how you want to play the map, and something you might need to look at as you move on in the season if you're the Apes.
Yeah, I definitely think a bright spot for this set so far has been the way Bacon has played. He was very impressive in game one. And so far, you know, keeping up with the Raijin here in game two. You know, he was a pickup after they lost Xanarthek wow, another kill onto Subkiller. And it has just not been his day as he falls down to the tier.
Subkiller, really good solo laner here in this league. So Saucy Kings game plan, hey, shut down their best player. As Bacon makes this rotation, does find the Unstable Vortex and the through space and time onto Pulsar Hypernova. As Ragnarok is looking to pick up the kill, and they find both Pulsar Hypernova and Viztix. Great rotation and a turnaround here for the Apes, picking up 2 kills.
It's huge, right? You know, Bacon now sitting on a 1-level lead. You get a kill onto this hyper carry Alquang, which can be definitely scary. You know, when he gets that Spear of the Magus online, it's going to be a lot of damage. You know, doesn't even have to ult there, so he still has that available for if he wants to get more aggressive later on. And now you've created some space for the Medusa to farm back into it. So you can't overstate that for the Apes, how important that was to get those kills on the left. Now let's see if they can use this advantage they have with the Alquang and the Janus to kind of create more plays around the map.
Yeah, and that's what we kind of pointed out when they first picked it. Like, hey, last match we kind of screwed up some of our early game rotations. Let's try and fix that with this Giannis locked in. He did use the through space and time for damage, but maybe just the mindset of picking the Giannis is helping them out on some of these early rotations and how they want to play.
And this is just what Chiron does. He pushes you into the tower, and he's extremely safe from ganks. As we have a rotation from Ragnarok, but you know, purple's not up, and you know, Chiron's not in particular danger with that dash. So, but yeah, again, they're playing to relieve pressure from this Medusa, which we don't say a lot because Medusa's, you know, kind of a pressure pick and can kind of fight in with that one. But against the Chiron, it's a little easier said than done. As an invade coming out from the Saucy Kings.
Yeah, this is a typical nice voice crack there. This is a typical call here for the Saucy Kings. You see Alquang on left side, send your jungler over, take these back camps. But Rank Commander trying to pick up a gank here, but does force the ult out of the Thor, and Thor's just gonna get out now.
Nicely done. Now they won't have that Thor ult, but Banherk is soloed on the left-hand side by Viztix. Very impressive. And this is why Chiron is so strong. Lane pressure. He's pressuring a pressure pick, right? Like,
yeah.
And getting these solo kills, it's tough to do. I mean, you look at what the Apes are doing, and right, you know, you get that win there, forcing the Thorol. You think, okay, our side laners are going to be safe, and then both of their side laners solo killed within the
Ragnarok
next 30
should
or
be
so
able to
seconds.
pick up the kill here though, and he does find it. Could look to turn it on to happen. Bacon is using through space and time, doesn't find it. Great teleport out of happen. Beads is the slow out of Bacon. Good relic uses there out of happen. Keeps him alive there.
So now the side laners just need to figure out how to safely farm while this Thor is unable to do stuff. But potential kill in mid as Pulsar Hypernova picks that up. Rank Commander just a little bit out of position, doesn't use the dash effectively. Um, and it's again the shell, it was questionable there. It didn't really help him stay alive. And with the nerfs, its late game viability is really hurt. So I'm not loving this shell pickup from Rank Commander.
Yeah, we have seen it fall off quite a bit. I'm curious if it'll be still prioritized over the meditation coming into mid-season patch, because meditation seems like it could be a stronger relic now with the way it works.
Did you see that post on Reddit where the guy was using the new Mirrodin and the meditation on PTS and Boomba's Hammer to get like basically infinite Hebo ones?
Really?
It
No,
was
I haven't seen
horrifying.
that.
I encourage everyone to look at that because that's hilarious. As we see, a big lead for Legendary here on the right side, and another level lead on the left side. So it's the side lanes here, and a 2-level lead in support. It's the side lanes here that are really hurting for the Apes. They're just not able to stay alive, and they've kind of been able to limit what Happen's able to do, forcing his ult, forcing his beads. But it doesn't matter if your side lanes are getting soloed. The jungler doesn't need to gank, right? So a little bit of frustration, I think, for the Apes on their side lane performance.
Yeah, and Saucey King's just right on time for this red buff invade. Looks like Petrified does come out of the Medusa. Not able to land it though. Happen going into the air. Looks like the call is to go in as Ragnarok goes into 3 by himself. Half health immediately. Happen picks up Medusa. Vistic with the snipes does find Ragnarok as well. Reginald just not close enough to pull Rank Commander back into the team. And overall, 2-0, and you get the red buff invade. A great win here for Saucy Kings.
Yeah, amazing patience from Happen there. He goes up into the air and he doesn't immediately land. He waits for the play to develop. He sees that they've got a solid pick onto Ragnarok, so he's able to land on the Medusa instead. He lands, forces the beads, holds onto the hammer, waits for Medusa to dash away, uses the hammer to secure the kill. Excellent play by Happen there. If anyone's wondering how to play Thor, just watch that play. Happen putting on a clink.
Yeah, Medusa had to use the beads as well, so when this Gold Fury spawns up, we know Saucy Kings like to take these objectives early, especially when they have a lead like this, around 3.5k right now. As not sure what happened here.
As we're getting that sorted out, I just want to talk about this lead in solo lane. How are the Saucy Kings going to get Legendary involved, right? As this Gold Fury spawns, are they going to rotate Legendary over to try and force this lead, and try and get the first objective off the map? I think just the way these side lanes are going, it's going to be really hard for the Apes to fight in, even though they're kind of keeping pace in mid jungle.
Yeah, it looks like my smite is not responding. I messaged them to try and get a pause going here, so hopefully we won't miss too much. But yeah, another early lead coming out of the Saucy Kings. Gold Fury spawning here soon, and Medusa being a pretty easy pick so far if this trend continues. 0, 3, and 2 for the Medusa, down 2 levels to Vistic. I'm assuming that's where they're going to look to go as well.
Curious to see what Pulsar is itemizing into here. Could be the anti-heal, maybe to kind of slow down some of that Ao Kuang lifesteal, I suppose. But I think it's probably more likely the a talisman of energy rush, or maybe perhaps uh, Heartward Amulet, because they have a lot of magical damage on the side of the Apes. So that could be curious, very unorthodox, but maybe a good play into this draft from the Apes.
Okay, and apologies for the stoppage. I'm going to throw it to a break here and we'll resume when we get back into the game. Sorry about this. Okay, and we are back. Apologies for the delay. We're about 40 seconds off from where we were before the break. Um, yeah, sorry about that. So my smite crashed. Had to relaunch everything and wait for spectator to catch back up to the in-game current state. I think it's about 30 seconds to a minute off right now of where we were, but just sort of to recap, if you would, Monjilton, where we are in this game.
Yeah, so the Saucey Kings really able to abuse these side lanes out of the Apes. The Apes are kind of staying even in mid and jungle, but these side lanes just falling ever behind. And now, interested to see where Pulsar takes this talisman pickup. I would expect maybe a heart ward because of all the magical damage. Similar to how you would see a Sov, into like a physical jungler, like maybe he's going to kind of curb that Alkong damage, or perhaps a Talisman of Energy, which I think would be a good pickup as well. But hoping to see the Saucy Kings get Legendary involved soon because he's very ahead, and going to be really useful for forcing a Gold Fury fight, maybe in the next minute or so.
Yeah, and if we remember, the Medusa did use beads in that red buff invade fight where Happen was able to pick up the kill anyways. So they could still look for that if they choose to fight around this Gold Fury. They still have like the 4K lead. If your Saucy Kings could still push it, we know they like to based off of game 1 and some of their other matches. So just getting Oracle control here, setting up for this fight. Maybe even could look to pick out Rank Commander here.
Yeah, forcing the ult early only picks up Pulsar, and now the jump forced out. Justin jumping in aggressively with the ult, taunting him in. Not enough damage. Bacon going to throw the ult back. Ragnarok takes a lot of damage as well, and Happen to the air. Will he go for Ragnarok? He goes for Rank Commander instead, misses. Subkiller is going to pick up Justin, and now Pulsar looking in danger as well. Happen no ult. They're going on him as well. Chiron ulting as well. Not able to pick up Ragnarok with that. Legend are going to pick it up with the ult. And Subkiller is now chasing Viztix, but the fight's kind of falling apart for the Apes. What started off well, now it's just a 2 for 3. Can they pick up? Yes, they can. Viztix going to fall. Legendary trying to bring another back. Subkiller over the wall. And it's going to be a pretty split fight there.
Yeah, overall, I think a 3 for 2 there. Kind of awkward start there for the Kings because Pulsar Hypernova lands the Hercules pluck as Happen tries to land onto Rank Commander. So a little bit of mistiming there. Lachlan or Lord Legend are maybe trying to find Subkiller picked out here, but that Odin Shield gonna save his life. Great rotation out of the solo laners, but overall a win for the Apes. Mitigates the lead back down to a 3K instead of 4K as it was, and no Gold Fury taken. Dusa has the beads back up. Odin did have to use the beads in that fight, it looks like, but with Thor using the beads on the other side, that's kind of a good trade there, I guess, overall for the Apes.
It was good for the Apes because Happen kind of misused his ult and then was caught in that corridor alone with kind of no tools to survive. But they pushed it just a little too hard and ended up giving, I think, too much back. I think it could have been a much bigger win for the Apes. Very nice for Subkiller to kind of catch up in this solo lane matchup as he's kind of pressured under his tower. Tier 1 should be going down following that back. But still nice from Subkiller to kind of catch up there. And I think the only shame there is that you lose Ban Herc again. He's sidelined for another half a minute. 0-3 now with a 2-level deficit. This Chiron is officially a problem, I think, for the Apes. But again, Bacon continues to be a bright spot. Ragnarok, a nice bounce back game. Subkiller with strong rotations, able to keep within a level. So it's not like there's nothing to like from the Apes as Ragnarok may be caught out here. It's just that I'd like them to slow their gameplay down a little bit, maybe not push these engagements so hard so that they end up, throwing their lives away to, Legendary's rotation. As now Saucy King starting up the Gold Fury. We'll see how Apes respond.
Or if they respond at all, only ban Herc here. Maybe a Giannis ult looking to steal the Gold Fury at quarter HP. Giannis backing, not even looking to throw out the ult. Saucy Kings do get the Gold Fury with little to no contest out of Apes. His rank commander is going to get caught here. Forces the ult out of Justin, misses the Taiko drums, and not able to find it, but Happen dunks down, does find the kill with Lord Legendary on the rank commander. Banhurt gonna fall as well as the Happen. Ragnarok trying to get his back off before the Pulse Stripe Nova catches him, and he does. So another win for the Saucy Kings, 2 kills and the Gold Fury. Uh, Again, kind of mimicking game one, where it's a little bit mistiming, miscommunication from the Apes on these objective plays. Nobody's really showing up to help Van Herk on the defense for that Gold Fury at all.
It comes down to a lack of patience again from the Apes. They noticed that Vis6 used the ultimate for the Gold Free Secure, so I think it was right to push the fight there because now Chiron, he loses some of that survivability, loses a ton of that damage. But Rank Commander goes in on his own and doesn't really wait for the team to follow up. He's spinning around. Yeah, sure, he forces some response from the Saucy Kings, but no one from his team is there. He's taking free damage. And then he ends up dying. Banhurk then comes to try to follow up, blows his ultimate, but then also dies. I think if they just had waited until there was a little more coordination, they could have done a little bit more to this Saucy Kings team that had just invested a lot of resources, like I said, that Chiron ult, into the Gold Fury. I just think that they pushed the gas pedal a little bit too soon and were unable to kind of coordinate any of their damage.
Yeah, and the Medusa falling again in that fight, 0-4. It has to use the beads again. Only 23 stacks, 15 minutes in on this Transcendence. Just not having a good time in pretty much game 1 and 2 here. If you're Banherk, just got to try not to get tilted here if you're Banherk, and try and stay in it. If you're the Apes in general, Saucy Kings up to a 4.5k gold lead again.
Yeah, and try not to get tilted if you're us, as we're sitting through another pause here, about to get back into the action.
Keep in mind,
But
this is the pauses for when I crashed and messaged them to pause. So.
yeah, absolutely. So it shouldn't be too much longer as we're fast forwarding through it. But I think similar to last game, a way back into this for the Apes is Bacon, who has been very impressive. He was picked up. He was a sub on a team, was dropped, and then after Exonerthix was suspended from the Apes, they needed a mid laner, and Bacon really stepping up, being very impressive for this team, keeping pace with Justin, which is nice. Got that anti-heal online.
Yeah, Divine Rune not the best pickup if you're a Giannis player. Most of them don't even like to pick up anti-heal, just force it on another role. But with jungle being Ao Kuang, Divine Rune probably feels even worse on the Ao Kuang pickup, so he has to pick it up instead. And as you mentioned, he was a sub on another team. That was my team, Bad Grandpa's, and just scrimming with him a little bit, playing some casuals here when he was on the team. A very good player and a solid mid laner, so a great pickup here for the Apes, looking at when they had to replace their mid.
Yeah, I would have liked to see maybe foregoing this Divine Ruin pick. I think he kind of curbs a little bit of the lost damage with the Book of Thoth, but now what he's really missing is cooldown. So he's not really going to hit that 40% cooldown until, much later. I'm going to be sitting at 20 for much of the game, missing out on that Spear of Desolation. But with this Odin pickup, I wonder if like anti-heal is really that important to grab. Just because you can kind of rely on using Odin for the team fights. Maybe, I don't know, stick an Ankh onto your support if it's really that important. I just think this Divine Ruin, could have been a Spear of Deso, and you wouldn't be feeling it too bad about that. But Bacon, a good game nonetheless.
Yeah, and I'm curious about the Book of Thoth pickup. He just finished the stacks. I don't know how I like it on a Giannis. I'm not sure. The traditional build's kind of more of like the Charon's coin, right? Or maybe even a Soul Gem, or not? What is it? Yeah, Soul Gem with Conduit Gem as well, and like a Staff of Mirrodin. So as soon as you go through space and time, you can use your double two and get a lot of damage off on the back line.
Yeah, I think it's just to get those big damage numbers from the ult, right? I think you lose a lot of that pen, like you mentioned, for if you go Karen's coin instead. Um, but you get a lot of power from it, and you get to be spammier with it, which is quite nice for the Giannis. That added mana. So I think uh, potentially just looking to ult to carry and use your two, and hopefully one shot them. But again, the Divine Rune doesn't really serve that purpose. So maybe a just questionable build from the Giannis all around, but not questionable play as he's 2-1-3 and keeping even with Justin here.
Yeah, and Vistic used the ult there trying to find the solo onto Ragnarok. Maybe just testing his limits there as Rank Commander gets the ult out of Justin. Through space and time, finds him, but he can't find the two. Justin uses the Aegis anyways, even if it did hit. And that happened looking to try and chase this Giannis.
Now Apes need to find something they can do here. A lot of the damage dealers lost their ults. Justin having the Aegis forced out. So now what can they do? Can they push down a mid-tier 1? Can they rotate to the right? There's no jungle up. There's nothing they can really do. So they're just going to group in the jungle, I suppose, and maybe catch someone out. But looking like there's nothing as now Vistix putting the gas pedal on, looking for Ban Hurt. The ult comes out to slow him, and aggression going to end there as he's going to take the Harpies for his trouble.
But with Ragnarok coming out, Vistic used the Aegis early. His ult's still not up. Vistix might be able to turn this 2v1, but with Bacon rotating as well, don't believe he's going to be able to get out of this one. A great portal closes the gap there onto Vistix, and Banherk picks up the kill. And that's a pretty big kill there for the was 0-4-4 Medusa. 3 levels behind, now only 2, and going to be able to farm up while Vistix is respawning.
And that's just Banherk recognizing that if he gets out there, he can pull Vistix further into his territory to allow this quick rotation from Janus and Ragnarok in order to get that kill. His sub-killers picked up in the right jungle.
Yeah, just a great bait. Great bait from the tier. Knows sub-killer's going to jump over that wall there. Happen just waiting in open arms for to catch him right as soon as he lands at that wall. Uses hammer and his 3-spin combo and just finds the kill pretty easily on a sub-killer there.
And Bacon is going to get Fearless into huge damage from Justin. The ult forced out by Rank Commander. Now he's taunted in. Do they have the damage as he's Fearless out of the tower again? Huge damage, and now off of the jump, Happen's going to land in, get the kill, and a huge 3-for-0 from the Saucey Kings. Yeah. And just amazing engagement from them.
Yeah, Lord Legendary gets an amazing Blink Fearless on the backline and finds the Giannis, who's been able to survive in games 1 and 2. And now with Fire Scorpion taken down, Fire Giant on the menu for Saucey Kings.
And it's like baseball. If you're going to miss out of the zone. Don't let them get a home run off of you. The Saucey Kings gave up a few kills, but there were no objectives on the map. They're able to just give away a couple of free kills, no objectives taken away from the Apes. And now, with a 3-for-0, and now Bacon dying, Saucey Kings get the Fire Giant and a pick and are in complete control of this game.
Yeah, and big damage coming out of Bacon, but his unstable Vortex not able to pick up any kills. Through space and time used to try and steal the FG, but it was just a little bit late on the time there. Subkiller not able to buy enough time as he would have liked to. And a great beads keeps him alive from Pulsar Hypernova's pluck there from the Herc.
Yeah, but now Bacon, no relics for this push. So it's going to be difficult for him to get any damage off, as now Rank Commander going to fall. Tier 2 likely to follow.
Yeah, and this is going to be a very hard defense with both frontliners still going to have 15 plus seconds on the respawn. So free Phoenix here for the Saucey Kings. The Raijin dashes in. Good portal to buy him some time from both ultimates, but he is still going to fall with Lord Legendary ulting over the wall, and Vistix shreds through Ban Herc. Phoenix is down. They might look to end here for the Saucey Kings, and that does seem to be the call. As only 2 Tier 2 Phoenix is still up, but with all 5 members here from Saucey Kings, Titan's taking a lot of damage, and it does shred. Ragnarok picks up 1, but it's just not enough out of the Apes.
And it just seemed like they kept dying at the wrong times. Just nothing they could do. They lose 3 in mid. They try to defend this Fire Giant after all of those deaths, but nothing they could really do. and they kind of conveyor belted there, one death after another, staggering those respawns, and the Saucy Kings are able to cleanly get the victory. A nice 2-0 for them, feeling really good.
Yeah, just overall clean gameplay coming out of the Saucy Kings, besides a couple of botched sieges here in game one. But overall game two, I mean, I think what few mistakes they might have had in game one, they cleaned it up even further, being more concise on the sieges, picking out the frontliners, so it's very hard for the backliners of Apes to try and defend alone in that 3v5. And as soon as they push up, a great response out of the Saucy Kings, dive them, shred them, and now you have a naked Titan with nobody but a couple of frontliners there to defend, just not enough damage to stop Saucy Kings from running it down.
And it's just 80 diff this game, a whopping 8,000 damage, uh, uh, and then some from the Chiron. And now we've got Justin joining us for an interview. Justin, how do you feel about that win?
It's all right. We won't play it too serious. We've had a lot of issues with scheduling stuff, so one of the first times we've actually gotten everybody together. So for the most part, we kind of trolled game one. I'm gonna blame Blackland. Titan was at 61 HP and he backed instead of just so uh so that game could have ended at 18 minutes, and then game two, once again, we just after about the 15-minute mark, we're like, okay, can we just kill Fire Scorpion and win this game and win Smite game? So other than that, we felt pretty good. Once we decided to turn on the Jets, they came on, but not too many complaints from me, I would say.
Yeah, and pretty much clean gameplay overall from you guys. Is this your main roster? I'm not quite familiar with your lineup.
For the most part, this is probably gonna be our main roster for most of the season, unless we need to make changes. But other than that, I think our team will do well.
Yeah, and with a performance like that, I mean, what changes do you really need to make? Just to, as we mentioned, a couple slip ups there on the Sieges game one, but maybe getting trolled by your soul laner there, thinking he can just back on the boys like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You,
who'd you think your set MVP would be there? I mean, huge performances coming out of Happen, Lord Legendary, Viztix, yourself, and I mean, Pulse Hypernova's Kepri in game one just allowed you guys to dive pretty freely there.
I think it was overall team effort. I think our game one draft was really, really solid. I think we went for a certain style of play and we executed that fairly well up into the 18-minute mark, and then we kind of just devolved into running around. Um, Other than that, I think really we've got to point. If I got to point any fingers, I got to point it at Happen and Lloyd Lackland. They did great. Just put a lot of pressure on the solo side of the map. One of the players, Subkiller, on that team is one of the standout players, and shutting him down really kind of forces the team to play through their mid and through their carry sides. And Viz was shutting down their carry, so like I would say my MVP would just be Happen and Lachlan because they forced them to make that play style adjustment. But it was really overall team effort, and we played really well.
this is the first time we've gotten to see you guys due to some issues for week one, but uh, really impressed by your side laners and just the way y'all were able to get them involved and really abuse their leads. Is there another team out there that you're excited to play against and face later down the line?
Um, I'm excited to play like a team like Bad Grandpas and a team like Matra Pectus, I believe that's their name. We just call them the Milkers, but I'm pretty excited to play those two teams. I think they can do fairly well. Um, Also, Inception is another team I think people aren't giving enough credit for how decent they can play. Other than that, we knew our first 2 weeks were gonna be more. Don't want to say easy because all these teams are really good, and if people want to come in and say this is a plat league, they're kind of stupid considering most people starting lineups are nothing but Masters players. But in just terms of quality, we felt like we had it under control, whereas some of these other teams we might have to try a little bit harder for. But we're really excited for those two sets in particulars, and then think the set with Inception will be pretty fun as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, really, the only plat level player on your team is your mid laner, anyways.
Yeah, I know he's garbage.
But yeah, impressive stuff for sure.
Yeah, and
Appreciate it.
definitely should be an exciting set versus Saucy Kings and the Bad Grandpas. It's only going to be free low for the Saucy Kings when they queue up against us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard
We drop
Destiny's Child was the best team in the league, though. So
when
I'm not
we
really sure.
when we drop in those lobbies, well, our attitudes will change a bit. We'll be leaning forward a bit more,
Sitting
not
up in
loading.
the chair, sitting up.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely pretty excited about that win. Also, like a lot of these teams, I think they'll be a lot better going into later into the season. A lot of the early struggles for teams not really knowing what their identity was. We still don't know quite what our identity what is, but we'll slowly find in it, and we'll slowly get to a point where we want to be.
Yep, and again a great performance out of you and your team. Looking forward to watching you guys and playing against you later on in the season. Any shout outs here before we let you go?
Um, Shout outs to Rag for for the week. We were hoping to get this game played on Saturday, and obviously it's Sunday. Well, Friday, I mean, and obviously it's Sunday. And also, just shout out to my teammates playing well, Happen Viz, Pulsar, and Lachlan, showing up on time as well. Always appreciate when the boys are there on time or not early. So, other than that, don't really have anything else to shout out.
Alrighty, well, thank you for joining us, and again, best of luck this season.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys.
And then I believe that is gonna do it for us here. Saucy Kings versus the Apes, gonna be a 0-2 in favor of the Saucy Kings. Yeah, they played very well for that being their first game as a team, and as you heard, they're pretty confident, and they still have some improvement to do, they think, but should be solid gameplay coming out of them later down the line.
If you're in the upper division watching this game and you know you're going to have to play the Saucy Kings later down the line, look at this early game. Watch the way they play the early game. That's the way you do it. You first of all, they drafted for the early game, which I think is the right play, and they executed it to near perfection, getting leads in virtually every lane, and then forcing strong objective plays. So just good smile all around, and very impressive, and excited to see where this team goes.
Yep, and for those of you that are still with us here, thank you for watching. And I think later on in the week we should have some more broadcasts going into week 3 of the league. But yeah, thanks for watching and take care.